This coming Sunday is Proper 17, or the 12th Sunday after Pentecost. The lectionary passages that Wilda Gaffney chose for this week take a look at what a person does with their wealth and what that says about their character. The gospel passage, which we will be contemplating today, is one of my favorites. Luke 19, 1 through 10. Zacchaeus meets Jesus. So I want to read to you what Gaffney has to say about this passage. She says, while Jesus centered much of his teaching on the poor and ministered to them, he also maintained friendships with the wealthy, including those who made their wealth off the backs of his people by taxing them over and above what was required in order to enrich themselves. There is a mystery in this text. Why did Jesus need to go to Zacchaeus' house? Did he make the determination before he saw him in the tree or after? Zacchaeus' conversion regarding his wealth seems immediate. There is time that is unaccounted for in this passage. At some point, they move from the tree to the house, if indeed Jesus' blessing on his house took place there. What else happened there? What was their conversation? How long did he stay? The final lines are revealing. Jesus said he has come to seek out and save the lost. Riches may buffer some of the hardships of life, but one can have all the wealth in the world and still be deeply lost. So she asked such great questions in her commentary that you might want to think about as we go through the contemplation, in addition to the questions that I ask and the questions that you might have of the text. So that is all that I have to say this morning by way of introduction. So before I read the passage, I will light my candle as a symbol of God's presence with us here today. Oh, I got to turn it on first. There we go. Now we have candle, electronic candle. And I pray for the following graces: to know Jesus more intimately, to love him more intensely, and to follow him more closely. Luke 19, 1 to 10. Now Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through it. There was a person named Zacchaeus who was a chief tax collector and was rich. Zacchaeus was seeking to see who Jesus was, but was not able to on account of the crowd, being short in stature. So Zacchaeus ran ahead and climbed a sycamore to see Jesus, who was going to pass that way. Now, when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So Zacchaeus hurried down and welcomed Jesus, rejoicing. All who saw it began to grumble and said, to a sinner has he gone to be a guest. Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Messiah, look, half of my possessions, Anointed One, to the poor I will give. And if I have defrauded anyone, I will pay back 4 times as much. Then Jesus said to Zacchaeus, today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a child of Abraham. For the Son of Humanity came to seek out and to save the lost. The word of the Lord. Second here. Before I guide you through the passage, I'm hearing feedback. I wonder if everybody has their microphones turned off. And if not, if you would mind turning those off so that we don't have feedback. Thank you so much. So before I guide you through the passage with questions and pauses, let us take a couple of centering breaths. Breathing in God's Spirit and breathing out anything that distracts you from being in the presence of God. And I pray again for today's graces, to know Jesus more intimately, to love him more intensely, and to follow him more closely. I invite you to enter the story. Now, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through it. Take a moment to visualize what Jericho looks like as Jesus enters the town. Jericho, located about 15 miles away from Jerusalem, near the Jordan River, is referred to as the city of palm trees. As you pass by a fig palm, perhaps you will decide to pick a fig. If so, savor the texture and the taste of this fruit as you put it in your mouth. Take in the lush green beauty of this oasis city. Smell the fresh water springs that nourish the land. Notice the people lined up along the roadway that leads into this prosperous city. The poor townspeople and homeless outcasts that are longing to encounter a well-to-do trader or political elite who might toss them some coin or a bit of bread. What might these people be thinking as they watch Jesus approach? There was a person named Zacchaeus who was a chief tax collector and was rich. What do you notice about Zacchaeus? Why might a rich man be here among the poor and the outcasts? What might he be hoping for? Zacchaeus was seeking to see who Jesus was, but was not able to on account of the crowd, being short in stature. Watch Zacchaeus jostle the people in front of him, trying to get a glimpse of Jesus. How might the people who are being pushed react to this man wearing fine clothes? This man who oozes wealth, yet is despised by the people. So Zacchaeus ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see Jesus, who was going to pass that way. Listen to Zacchaeus' breathing as he hurries ahead of the crowd. Watch as he climbs the tree. Is it an easy ascent, or does he struggle and slip as he climbs? How does the crowd react to his actions? What emotions are stirring within you as you watch him climb? Are there other people also climbing trees? Now, when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. What do you notice about Jesus? What expression does he have on his face? What is the tone of his voice as he speaks to Zacchaeus? And how does Zacchaeus respond? Does he say anything? So Zacchaeus hurried down and welcomed Jesus, rejoicing. Notice their facial expressions. What do you suppose Jesus and Zacchaeus speak about here at the base of the sycamore tree? All who saw it began to grumble and said, to a sinner has he gone to be a guest. Notice these people who disagree with the rabbi's choice to socialize with the tax collector, a man who has likely cheated each one of them. Perhaps he has cheated you. How are you feeling? What effect, if any, do you suppose the complaints have on Jesus? Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Messiah, look, half of my possessions, Anointed One, to the poor I will give. And if I have defrauded anyone, I will pay back 4 times as much. What does Zacchaeus look like as he says this? How does Jesus respond? Has anyone from the crowd heard Zacchaeus say this? If so, what is their response? What are you feeling? Then Jesus said to Zacchaeus, "Today, salvation has come to this house, because he too is a child of Abraham. For the Son of Humanity came to seek out and to save the lost." How does it feel to hear Jesus's words of liberation? Consider how Jesus has brought salvation to this man who was wealthy in money, but poor in spirit. Consider how his salvation has affected the community in which he lives. How has Jesus brought salvation to you and your household? And how will you respond to your encounter with Jesus? I invite you to spend the next 10 minutes in a colloquy, a conversation with the divine. Speak to God about what you experienced during the contemplation, especially the parts of the story that caused you to experience strong emotions, whether great joy or feelings of unease. What might God want to say to you about your life as it relates to this story? When I sound my chimes, this will indicate that you have about a minute to wrap up your colloquy, after which time I will end the silence with this week's psalm. If you're doing this contemplation later with the recording, go ahead and hit pause now and spend as much time as you like in silent conversation with God. Then restart the video when you're ready to hear the closing reading. To end our time of silence, I will read from Psalm 37. Be not angry on account of the wicked. Be not envious of wrongdoers, for they will soon wither like the wild grass and fade like the planted grass. Be still before the Most High and wait patiently for God. Be not angry on account of those who prosper on their path, or the ones who carry out plots. Let go of anger and forsake wrath. Be not angry. It leads only to evil. For the wicked shall be cut off, but those whose hope in the fount of justice shall inherit the land. And a little more time, and the wicked will be no more. You will reflect upon their place, and they will not be there. But the humble poor shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant well-being. Better is a little that the righteous person has than the abundance of many wicked. I have seen the wicked oppressing and spreading themselves out like a native green tree. They pass on, and suddenly they are no more. Though I sought them, they could not be found. Regard the blameless and behold the upright, for there will be a future for the peaceable. But transgressors shall be utterly destroyed together. The future of the wicked shall be cut off. The salvation of the righteous is from the ever-present God, who is their stronghold in the time of trouble. The redeeming God helps them and delivers them from the wicked and saves them because they take refuge in God. Amen.